Well, hey gang, Taki here in the driver's seat along with Marcus. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
Very well, thanks for being here. Appreciate this.
Yeah,
So,
likewise. Yeah, thank you.
team, really excited about this. This is our third installment of the 3-Minute Coach training, and in the 3-Minute Coach, this kind of online workshop series, we've really had two sessions so far. Firstly, we talked about the system as an overview, which we're going to revisit, I'm sure, today as as we're going to land the plane. We talked about how to open your client 2 weeks ago, about how to start a session, feedback loop questioning. We've talked a little bit about rap sheet. I'm sure we'll do a little bit more about that today as well.
Yeah.
Today, where we're really going is when we have this conversation with a client, how do we bring it from, interesting conversation to landing the plane? And so a couple of kind of key thoughts from last week. Where's my really what we're doing is we're helping clients manage their state. And so if we manage their state, they get out of their stuff, out of the stories they tell themselves about the stuff, and out of the long-term embedded script. So that's kind of our job, is to hold the context and move them from something that's just interesting to something that's useful. We talked a little bit about making and enforcing boundaries. Where's the slide I'm looking for? You said something really interesting last session, Marcus, about not listening to what they're saying, but
yeah.
because most people kind of think they know what they need, but they don't know what they really need. And so you kind of brought up this feedback loop questioning technique, really kind of, which brings us to this middle part. It's interesting that we're going to do today on kind of show and tell, and I'm sure you'll give us a bit more about that. But really, this is the one I'd like to do a quick recap on. Can you just do a maybe a 30 seconds, Marcus, on this map and what we've done so far, practically speaking?
Yeah, absolutely. And so far on this map, what we've done is we've started to, I suppose, open up the client and start to dive really deep into what's going on for them. And part of that journey is about looking at charge words rather than looking at the whole sentence in languaging. And so what we're not trying to do is get caught in the drama of what they're saying to us, but rather try and find those words that have the highest amount of charge, and then start joining the dots so that we can actually dive in and go, what's really going on here? And help them to see that, which is more important. It really is irrelevant whether we see it or not. It's absolutely, they need to see it. And that's when we start to get them to pop, and that's when we get right into the point, which we'll go over today.
Love that. So I remember 2 weeks ago, I think Ed Plant was our coachee, and I noticed that he kept kind of looping back to time, and which was this bit right here. We kind of started to loop. And so when you do this feedback loop questioning and you start to feel like you're kind of repeating a little bit or going around in circles, that's a sign that you've bumped up against this thing that you call the moment of truth. Just can you tell me what the moment of truth is and why it's important to jump over it?
Yeah, so I think the moment of truth is when the client senses, whether consciously or subconsciously, that they're actually getting to that core issue, the thing that's stopping them from moving forward. And sometimes that can feel a little bit painful. It'll often feel really, really uncomfortable. And so people are hesitant to go there just in case. And it's the great unknown. And obviously nothing's terrible there. It's just that they don't know what's there. So then all of a sudden their subconscious fear patterning starts to come up, and they get really hesitant about jumping over that line. So they start looping around on themselves. And we want to break through that looping so that they can actually pop to the other side and see what's really going on and what needs to happen to move past it.
Love that. All right, mate. Well, so appreciate that so much. I don't know if you've got it in your slides or you want me to do it, like a check-in from last week with people.
Yeah, I have got it in my slides, but we can...
All right, so let's do this. I'm just going to make you the presenter, and I'll ditch my screen for a little bit.
Cool.
And then I'm at your service.
Yeah, great. Excellent. So I think my screen's coming up now.
Certainly is.
I think, yeah, great. So today, Taki, I wanted to just go through, let's complete the journey from fluff to fast track, and just complete the process. And we're going to go as deep as we can in 90 minutes, obviously. And I'm going to outline it. We're going to move pretty quick through it because there's quite a bit in this, and so we'll try and show as much as we can, and we'll just overview, all of the points. We'll do some examples today so that people can again get to, feel it and experience it, and
Yes.
and let's do some diving deep into it. And so as we've talked about, the 6 core steps. So we really spent a bit of time on picture relay, started to look at the point, but we're going to run through that today. We're going to run right through point, align, play, and prescribe, and I want to spend a bit of time on point and align, and then play and prescribe's probably the easiest part of the whole journey.
Yes.
And so let's do that. Let's spend a bit of time on point and line, and then finish off with the play and prescribe. And as you mentioned, I'd love to know how people have gone. What's been happening for people as they've maybe they've implemented some of it, or had a bit of a play with it. Love to, like you said, Taki, get some feedback from people.
Right. So let's do this. Super stoked that you're here, and if you're here, there's a good chance that you either watched live or attended the other 2 sessions. I just want to know, what have you implemented? What have you learnt? What have been the big kind of either mental shifts or actual practical shifts that you've had from this so far? So do me a favor, just grab that check, find that little question box and type in, how'd you go? What have you done? What have you learnt? What's been most valuable so far? Perfect. Eamon says, I found it easier to identify the fluff. And you're probably, a big part of this is just an awareness piece, right? Because you probably realize that there's a ton of fluff in the sessions. Darren says, I really love the idea. The issue for me is about getting my head about only having a short session when the client's expecting a long session.
Yeah, great. So we should
one of the
talk
conversations we had, I was going to say one of the conversations we had down in Melbourne was about how to transition clients from the old way to the new way. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Grant Herbert, hang on a second. We're going to unmute you, Grant. This is pretty cool. Grant Herbert, you are being unmuted. G'day, mate. How are you? High achiever.
Great, Taki. Great, Taki. Yourself?
Very, very well. Just give everyone a quick, here's what you did, and here's how it's been received so far.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, and this came in the perfect time for me because I was releasing some clients back into their own world of non-implementation and bringing on new clients. And every client now, I do a 15, and it normally starts with 30 minutes, but then very quickly goes into 15 minutes, and then they implement for the next 45, and then they send me a text message after they've finished, and it's just given me so much time back.
Fantastic.
And I've been using a system of a pre and post form on my website that my clients use, and I changed the wording on that as well, and has really down to the what's your win, what are you working on, what do you need from me now, and that has made it so much easier to give greater value in 15 minutes.
Well done, mate.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
Kudos and congrats. And I love the session's still an hour, but it's an implementation hour. So we're going to do the first 15 minutes together. You're going to do your thing, and then we'll check in at the end. I love that. Well done.
That's brilliant.
That's fantastic.
But they're still getting the value. Still getting the value. So
yeah, they totally are. And so Darren, who asked a question about if they're expecting long, that's one great way to do it. Well done, Grant. I just wanted to call you out because that was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate
it. What else we got?
Yeah, great way to do it, Taki. Just brilliant.
Yeah, totally. I think that's brilliant. Carlos says, I've been using the wrap questions in person to start the sessions. Client get right into the value. Eamon says, I'm still addicted to a useless first question. I think that's great, Eamon. But what I'd like you to do is ask that question just before the client calls. See how that goes. Jackie says, I've been listening for the word with the emotion behind it and tried focusing on that. Amazing effects. Jackie, well done over the UK.
Brilliant. Yeah.
The tag words. Andrew says, I'm with Grant. 3-question processes cut a lot of sessions from 60 minutes down to 30-minute velocity sessions. Dude, I'm loving this. Well done, guys.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Perfect. Eamon, yeah, good job, mate. Well done. So it sounds like some good stuff happening. Totally love that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So very exciting to see people, starting to have a play with it and getting some really great results. And as we've talked about, Taki, it's about increasing value, not playing in time.
Yes, correct.
Because playing in time is really playing in the fluff.
Yeah.
Because as they're, people are experiencing, and as I've experienced and you've experienced, you don't need to spend an hour with someone.
No, you 100% don't need to spend an hour with somebody.
No, no, not at all. And you know, creating, you know, high value happens in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it really
And
does.
you know, it's popping. You know, it's like the SWAT team, as we've talked about before. You go in, get in, you know, dissolve the issue, and then get out real fast before anyone knows you've actually been there. Type of, you know, feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Love
great.
that.
Fantastic, fantastic. Good. Excellent. Thanks, guys, for your feedback. That's really great. So, as Taki showed, you know, I won't go into this because we talked a bit about this. I do want to talk a bit about the moment of truth, which we will in a minute. And today, I really do want to get into, you know, finishing, you know, getting into the show, and then obviously completing with the tell. And so, you know, really completing this whole picture, and we're going to overlay the blueprint shortly onto this picture. But really, you know, completing this picture, and once we pop through the moment of truth, get that core issue or problem that they're facing, we pop out pretty much in the same way, and continue to use the questioning triage type technique, or the feedback loop questioning technique, to sort of pop them out the other side. But it's much, much more directional, much, much more sort of, you know, this is what needs to happen, and here's, you know, let's get 3 core actions for you to go out and start, you know, changing your world. So, so definitely, you know, at the end bit's a lot faster than the start. So, you know, in 15 minutes, you're going to spend more time up front, you know, around the, you know, 7-8 minute mark, and then as you go through, it gets faster and faster. And I think that process also helps them to gain momentum as they come out, because yeah, because, you know, that they're in. Take a bit of time to really get that first piece, and then pop them out the other end as fast as you can, and that sort of gives them that momentum to get into action. Because once someone's popped the insight and they've got 3 key actions, they don't want to be sitting there thinking about it anymore. They want to actually be getting onto it. So they're going to push out the other end as well once they've got those 3 key actions. And really, it's the insight that starts to push them that way, because they just want to get on with it. You know, they don't want to be sitting there for another 45 minutes discussing stuff. They just want to get on with the job. And that's key. And I think, you know, that implementation of 45 minutes, give them that next 45 minutes for them to sit there and actually start implementing and making the calls and doing the things, you know, the actions, is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. So I think, do we want to do a little bit of a run through with this, Taki?
Yeah,
maybe we can do
awesome.
a little bit of an example up front before we actually start getting into it, and then maybe we can dissect what happens. So it'd be really good, you know, to find someone who's interested in having a session, and who's happy for me to dissect it. So just to know, the session might go a little bit longer, just so I can, you know, pull out some of the you know, the examples of what's happening, and then let's dissect it and go in and run through the process. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. So if you're up for a little bit of 3-minute coaching, and you'd love to be an example or kind of a role player here, just raise your hand in the GoToWebinar control panel. There's a little hand up button. That'll be most awesome.
Yeah.
And all we're going to do is we're going to do a quick session, and then we're going to debrief it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? We might go full circle. We started off with Nicole in week 1. Why don't we go back to Nicole in week 3? So I'm going to unmute Nicole and mute me, so you guys can just do your thing.
Yeah, cool. Excellent.
Go
Nicole.
ahead, Nicole.
Hey guys, how you going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Excellent. What do you need?
What do I need?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I would love some support around creating or getting clearer on the new product that I'm going to take to the new market that I'm working in.
Yeah, so it's getting clearer?
Yes, it's I've now done some work around getting my my kind of core system in place, and now I need to have a way to structure that, to take it to people, to give them access to it.
Yeah, so you need a way to be able to give them access to it. Is that what it is?
That's correct. So I'm kind of working on deciding how to structure this new part of, or this new business, and how I'm going to actually, you know, what products I'm going to deliver to give people access to my signature system that I've created.
Yeah. And so what's not clear?
Look, I don't know how would be best to deliver this and to package it to make it most effective and to give people the best results.
Yeah.
Is it to do live events, like a series of live events, or is it to go through, say, similar to what Taki does and create like a black belt model, or is it, I want to avoid one-on-one coaching, so I'm searching for leveraged options.
Right.
Yes, so that's
Okay. So tell me about your passion. What are you most passionate in? From a delivery
Okay.
piece, what are you most passionate in?
I love
Or
speaking.
about? Yeah, great. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you love speaking. Tell me about love. What do you love about speaking?
Well, I can work with a lot more people to start with. Being able to touch more people at the same time, and I love the energy of working with groups, because people not only then are learning from you, but they're learning from each other as well. I think it's so powerful that that space and that context that you create when you work with a group can be really transformational for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me about the energy you get from that.
I feel really energized, and watching people transform in that space is just, incredibly powerful. Love it.
Yeah, great. Excellent. So what should you be doing then, do you think?
Well, speaking, definitely.
Yeah, great.
Because teaching in groups anyway. That's what gives me the biggest buzz and what I love to do the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So tell me, how do you do that? Based on your, what we talked about up front, how do you do that?
I think the best way to do it at this stage will be to, I guess, create a lead magnet and start marketing, and then do some small one-day events, and sell, make them really accessible price-wise, and sell people into, say, bigger 2 or 3 day or weekend events.
Great, excellent. So what's 3 actions you need to take right now to start that process?
Write my lead magnet videos.
Great.
Excuse me. Sorry. Write scripts for lead magnet videos and record them, and then get them on my site or somewhere that I can start using them to attract people.
Excellent. So put them on your site, and where else could you put them? What else do you think you need to?
Social media. Social
absolutely.
media. So I think that one will be really, really powerful.
Yeah. And so obviously looking at Taki's obviously got a fantastic funnel for this, and so, diving into, that piece about, lead pages and, running that process would be really helpful, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell me about clarity, please.
Okay, so I'm definitely clearer on what it is that I really want to be doing and where I need to start to get it out there and get it happening.
Fantastic. And will you be able to do this?
Yes.
And when are you going to start?
Today.
Fantastic. And has that been helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Great. Excellent. Good. So thank you, Nicole. That's brilliant. Taki.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to sort of dissect what happened there, and I'd love to hear from others about what they saw happening there. And we might come back to you, Nicole, and just sort of, unpack what happened. So
why don't we do this? Yeah. What I'd love to know is, from the little kind of eavesdrop that you just did, what did you notice, process-wise, that Marcus was doing? I'd love to kind of see. Is there a better way to language that, Marcus? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah. And once we've heard from some people, I'll unpack what was happening for me, because there was lots more going on behind the scene than what obviously people would have heard, so we'll unpack that as well.
So Darren says you held her accountable. She shifted from getting it right to following her passion.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Carla said it shifted from her getting it right to her following her passion. Great.
Yeah.
Marcus gives no answers. He gets them to come up with their own answers. Thanks, money. What else? I loved how you helped her come up with her own action steps at the end, but then you kind of just wrapped it up with, so something like, do you know how to do it and when will you start?
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
simple.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, dudes? You got 5 seconds to type it in. He trusted that she knew the right answers. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds like the kind of the main things that people have typed in. I think people are kind of just secretly hoping they're just going to unpack what you just did.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so let's sort of unpack that. So one of the keys here is obviously getting right into the point as fast as possible. And so, I spent a few moments just sort of questioning what was going on for her. And as I'm questioning it, Taki, I'm actually not listening so much to what she's saying, but listening for the point, for what's really happening here for Nicole, because I get that Nicole and most of our clients are really intelligent people, and it's just often the case that you're so in the middle of the woods that you just can't see the wood for the trees, and so but deep down everybody absolutely knows exactly what needs to happen, and so it's about sort of trying to get to the point so you can actually pop that and what I call do a bit of a quantum leaping experience where you take them from that questioning, the feedback loop questioning, through the moment of truth. And for Nicole, the moment of truth wasn't huge. Some moments of truth can be really, really big, Taki. On an event like this or on a live, well, sometimes in a live event it'll happen. Usually on a webinar you don't get huge moments of truth because it's it's quite confronting, and you don't know who's on the call, and you don't necessarily want to break down, have tears and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely, the larger end of the the moment of truth, you'll get tears and you'll get this amazing sort of pop experience. In these events, you're not so much. But even so, we did have a quantum leap moment, and so what I find is when we get to that moment of truth, what we have to do is pop them over that. And the moment of truth in this case was the difference between being unclear in the front of the questioning to popping the moment of truth and clarity starting to appear. And so for me, my main focus as I'm asking those questions is less about what questions am I asking and what's the charge word I'm looking for, because having done it for such a long period of time now, the charge words just pop. They're a bit like beacons, a bit like a lighthouse. In the middle of fog, I go, I got it. So I don't even have to concentrate on that. What I'm concentrating on is where can I quantum leap? What's really going on here? What is the absolute point about this? And there were just a couple of little questions or answers that Nicole said, and what was coming through for me was this whole thing around passion. Yeah, she just got to follow her passion. There's no point doing something.
It was something that you heard.
That's right. Yeah, it was a well, is it a feeling? I suppose it's a feeling. It was a sense that was happening for me, and I just go, and it was really obvious. With the first 3 questions, it was just super obvious what possibly needed to happen here. And again, I use that word, Taki, possibly needed to happen, because I never presume. The worst thing you can do in this situation is go, yeah, I've got it. I know exactly what it is. That's a good way to back yourself into a corner and end up being there for an hour and a half. So so for me, it was like, okay, this is again, the heart thing came up for Nicole, and I think this is a really important point for her, not just in what we just did, but in her life, and it probably is for all of us, but certainly for Nicole. And so then the word passion popped out, and through that, the insight was around speaking. I should be speaking, because then I confirmed that with asking her the energy question. So people might remember I then asked, what does speaking do for you? What's the energy you get from speaking? And even without seeing her face, you can see her light up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're a light, when you light up, then people want to be around you. Yeah. People just want to be part of you, and so you'd end up attracting more clients, the ideal clients you want. You end up having more success because of that light. And so that was the sort of pop moment for her. And again, it wasn't a huge pop, it wasn't tears, and it wasn't fanfare, but that was the quantum leaping thing, because we were actually going on one track. So the quantum leap bit is where you go along one track, one train of questioning, and then all of a sudden with one question you pop them into a whole different level. So the whole questioning up to that point was around clarity, and I'm not sure, and I don't know what, and I really just need help working that out, to sort of jumping down a level and or deeper in at a level and going, tell me about passion. What's that about for you? What are you most passionate about within that? And that sort of dropped it down to another level, and what happened after that was clarity. Nicole walked away from that going, yeah, I know exactly what I need to do.
Yeah,
And
really,
now
really
she's,
clear.
now she's often, and she'll absolutely be doing that. So for me, I go, that popping bit is really about going from fear to fortune, where, I'm hesitant. So the whole sort of energy of Nicole before the question, before we sort of got into it was fear. I don't know which place to go. I'm not sure which path to choose. So I'm just not sure, and that's a fear space, right? Now again, it's not huge fear as in detrimental fear that she had.
Yeah.
No, it's not terror, but it is a form of fear. And so what we want to do is break through that quantum leaping, get them down into a deeper bit, and what that ends up doing is pushing them out the other side so that they can actually step into their fortune. Yeah. That's a lot of what was going on for me. And so again, just focusing on what's the energy of what's happening here, where are the charge words around it, and where's the pop. And so a lot of the process I use with that is a thing called snap thinking, or first thought technique, and I'm going to sort of explain a little bit about that so that people can just see how I got to the word passion, and how we sort of pop through that moment of truth, pop the and get a quantum leap question out of what's going on. Because if you're following the conversation, if you're listening to all of the words in the conversation up front, you definitely won't find the pop. You won't find that quantum leap question, and you won't get them into the aha, or the that insight, because you're so caught up in the questioning. What you have to do is step back from it. You've got to step 1 foot away from what's going on to be able to see what's really going on. And I think embedded in the word coach is exactly that, right? If you think of a sports coach, they're not in the middle of the field playing. They're actually not even most of the time on the field. They're actually up in the stand having a really great contextual view of what's going on. And I think when you get caught in clients' conversations, what ends up happening is you get caught almost being on the field, or at least being on the sidelines, and it's really hard to see what's going on and be able to then pop a question that quantum leaps them and gets them into clarity in this case.
Yep, love that.
Yeah.
So, are you going to go deeper into snap thinking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Let's do that.
But I think that's the key, right? The key here is to be able to snap thoughts. So as you're observing the questions that are coming up, and watching observing those questions, and doing the feedback loop, ask a question, listen to the answer, find a keyword or a tag word, and ask a question based on that. The key thing behind here is I'm just following the energy. I'm just looking at, just feeling what's going on. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to, look at getting a snap thought. So what I'm going to do is ask myself a process, or follow a process, to get that word to pop for me first, and then to be able to pass that word on to them. And the process is called snap thinking, or first thought technique. And so, what ends up happening for us is there's two things going on in our brain at sort of any one time, and one's based on left hemisphere thinking, the other on right hemisphere thinking. And so left hemisphere thinking is very systematic, process driven. It's the side of the brain that's going to listen to every single word and try and sort of work something out from that, the languaging, whereas the right hemisphere is much more about sensory intelligence. It's much more about the feeling of things, and it's actually looking for a picture. It's not looking for the words. So the left hemisphere hears things through language, so it listens to every word. The right hemisphere is all about sensory intelligence. It's feeling what's going on and not listening to the actual words. And so both of these brains work quite differently. The left hemisphere works mainly or processes through past and future thinking. So as the left hemisphere processes, it has to reflect back into the past to understand what's going on now based on past experiences, and then it projects those past experiences into the future. And so it creates this sort of feedback loop again, where it's constantly assessing the now moment and going, where in the past have I experienced something like this? and what was the result, and then what's the answer. So when you're working with a client and you're using left brain hemisphere thinking, what you're doing is you're going, where in the past have I experienced this sort of client before? Where have I experienced this sort of issue or situation before? What was the outcome? And now I can give them an answer based on my, my experience. Whereas what the right hemisphere is doing is it's not processing past and future. It's only processing the moment of now. And for anyone who's on TED, if you want to know more about this, go and listen to the Jill Bolte-Taylor video, A Stroke of Insight. It's a brilliant, right? She explains this way better than me.
Dude, can I share a really goofy example? I just flew back from Hawaii 3 nights ago, and I was on Hawaiian Airlines, and there was no good movies, and so I ended up watching RoboCop 2, right? And so there's this dude who gets blown up, and they turn him into this robot, and he has this battle against a real robot. Like he's like half robot, half person, and he's like 50% slower than the other guy, or 25% slower than the real robot. And so what the dude does is he analyzes his thoughts, and he works out that he's doing like 5-step thinking. He gets the data. He's going back into his past. He's so he's doing what you just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what the dude does is he takes out these little connectors, and so now all he does is now he just kind of brings him straight down to 1-step thinking, which is what we're talking about right here. So you're kind of RoboCop coaching right now, which is kind of cool.
That's a cool cool metaphor. Fantastic. And so that's exactly right. Left hemisphere does 10 steps, right hemisphere does just 1. And so what we want to do is switch into right hemisphere thinking when we get to this part, to be able to grab a snap of insight, a snap word that we can actually pass on. And so the interesting part about this is we live in a very left hemisphere world, where the left hemisphere is given much more kudos than the right, and so when we go to school we learn left brain thinking. Unless you do a lot of arty-farty classes or music, there's not a lot of right brain work done, and so we've given more kudos to the left brain in the world. And if you go out into the environment, you see that people with left brain, or who are left brain predominant thinkers, have higher degrees, they have higher awards, they generally get better jobs, get paid more, right? I'm very general here because that's not necessarily the case, but a lot of right brain thinkers are art people and musicians and stuff, and some of them don't get the accolades until they've passed on, right? And it's just the world we live in. So we use our left brain much more than our right brain. We're trained to use our left brain. It was given a big tick at school, and what it says to a child is that right brain is not worth anything, so you should shut that down and only be left brain thinking. Now, because of that, the left brain is much louder when it talks to you internally than the right brain. And also, the left brain's much more concerned with ego and concerned with past and future, and therefore it wants to be loud, right? So we've trained it to be really loud. And what ends up happening is the only thoughts we often hear, unless we sort of focus, is left brain thinking thoughts. So when we start to flip to right brain, what happens is that the right brain, because of how fast it works, because it works with only the moment of now, so it doesn't have to process past and future, like you were saying with RoboCop. It doesn't have to do 5 or 10 steps, it just does 1. And so it's always the first thought that comes into our brain. But because our left brain's been given so much power, we actually don't hear it. And the other thing is, because the right brain is very feeling and sensory orientated, it doesn't yell, it just whispers to you. And so you've got to quieten the left brain down so that you can actually hear the right brain communication, especially in this case. Right? And this is why I try not to get caught up in the language that's happening, but rather just focus on the charge words or those tag words, which gives me space to feel and sense what's happening, so that I can pop that right brain insight or that right brain word, so that my client can get some clarity and get some actions and move on. So there's absolutely a process for tapping into the right brain. I'm going to share that with you now. It's called first thought technique. And remember, as I said, the very first thought is always a right brain thought. And so what we just have to do is be able to hear that right brain thought, so that we can pop that question. Now, the trick with this for me was, I've taught intuition and right brain thinking to CEOs and corporates for a long time now, and for a while some people could get it and other people couldn't. And what I realized was that I had to come up with a step process, which is a very left brain thing, but I had to come up with a step process to allow the left brain to go, yep, it's okay, you can do this, and so that it'll allow you to hear the right brain, right? Because the left brain, because of its ego nature, gets threatened very easily. So it's a bit of a, it's a bit scared, the left brain. It's a bit of a flighty brain, and so if you don't give it something to do or you don't calm it down and just let it know it's okay, it won't allow you to hear the right brain thinking as easily. So I came up with a 4-step process to help people to do that. I'm going to show you the 4-step process now. And so the first step in this 4-step process is that you have to actually stop the left brain just for a moment. Now, yeah, you only have to stop it for a few, for a couple of seconds for it to for you to be able to hear the right brain thinking. And so the way I do that is I get, either my client, I teach my clients this a lot, this actual technique, my coaching clients, as well as obviously people in, this workshop. But because I think it's really helpful for them to actually be able to access that right brain thinking. And then, of course, they're not going to need me as much. And when we come in, they pop their own insights much, much faster. So I'll often teach them this. So first step is to stop. And the way we do that is that I get people to close their eyes and I get them to focus on the noises they can hear in the room. Not what the noise is, but how the noise sounds. And because the left brain thinking, when it focuses on noises, is that it wants to know what the noise is, whereas the right brain doesn't care about what the noise is, it just cares about how the noise sounds. So what I do is I get people to close their eyes, focus on the noises they can hear in the room, not what the noise is, but how the noise sounds. So you ask yourself questions like, is it high-pitched or low-pitched? Is his voice fast or slow? Is it, calm or agitated? And just ask these questions around how the sounds sound. Once you've done that, and it only takes, maybe 5 or 10 seconds to do that, what we then do is we go into asking a question. So then we ask the client a question, and what we want them to do, or we ask ourselves the question, what we want to do is sense the response. Right? So we ask a question. It could be as simple, Taki, as, what's your favorite color, for example. When I'm practicing this with clients, I ask them 3 really simple questions that are benign and don't mean anything, right? Don't have any effect on life, which is, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite time of day? What's your favorite vegetable? What's your favorite fruit? What's your favorite season? These sort of things that really, don't really matter. We don't go in to go, should I stay with him or leave him? Should I, or any of those sort of things, right? That can certainly come later, but not when you're practicing it. And so, what people find when you do that is that, you might go, hey, Taki, what's your favorite color? And, purple. Yeah, you'll go purple, right? But your favorite color from a left brain point of view may not be purple, right? So if you were going to get that answer from a left brain, what the left brain does is go, wow, back when I was younger, I had a bike. I got a bike when I was 5 years of age, and I was so excited about that bike, and it was red, and that's, I love red because of that. Whereas the purple color, which may or may not be your favorite color, is a color that's needed right now. It's the moment of now color. It's the and it'll change from moment to moment. Right? In the next hour, it could be another color. And so when we go through this, favorite fruits and favorite vegetables, it's a great way to actually eat the things that you need right now, because the right brain is only concerned with right now. So it'll give you what you need right now. So I just use simple questions like that to get people connected to their right, to their right brain. I then get them to share the answer. Yeah. So, like you did, Taki, what's your favorite color? Purple. Fantastic. So share the answer. And then the final piece, which is probably the most important piece, is to take the action, is to actually take an action on it. So for you guys to practice this, what I get people to do is to ask questions with really simple things like, what do I feel like eating today or now? What do I feel like doing now? Which way should I go? So, for example, at home on a Saturday, it's almost lunchtime, go to the fridge, put your hand on the fridge, close your eyes, focus on any noises you can hear, and then ask the question, what do I feel like eating right now? First thought, bang. And just grab whatever it says out of the fridge, then do it again, and keep doing it till it doesn't say any more, right? And then the key then is to eat whatever it tells you to eat. Don't question it, don't analyze it, just eat it. And what will happen as you pick things, your left brain will kick in a millisecond after you make the decision, and it'll start questioning you. Oh, really? Do you really want that? You don't like that. You never normally eat that. Why would you want to eat that? And it'll start getting you to doubt your answer, right? Because the left brain doesn't want to be wrong, and it doesn't want to feel like the right brain. You know, there's this internal battle that goes on, Taki, which I know is really bizarre, but it happens. And so what you want to do is take an action as fast as possible. So practice it with, what do I feel like eating right now? Practice it with things like, what do I feel like doing right now? So again, a lazy Sunday, you're sitting on the couch and you could do anything, right? Because you've got nothing planned, and you go, what do I feel like doing right now? First thought, bang, and go do it. Whatever it says to do, just do it. And then in the next moment when you finish doing that, do it again. What do I feel like doing right now? Bang, first thought. And just go with it. And the final way to practice is, you know, if you're walking or driving home and you could go left or you could go right, just spend a moment, especially if you're a traffic light or something, just spend a moment and go, should I go left or right? First thought, bang, and go. And I can't tell you, Taki, how many times that saved me from getting into, you know, traffic jams and all sorts of stuff. So take the action. So if we go back over it quickly, it's stop your left brain thinking. Focus on the noises in the room, not what they are, but how they sound. Ask a question and sense the response. So it's the first thought. And if there's a, you know, 5 millisecond break between your answer and, you know, your thinking and then the answer, then you haven't got it, right? It has to be instant. And when you say, what's your favorite color, it may be a word like purple, or it could be bike, or it could be airplane, or it could be, you know, banana, or it doesn't matter what the answer is, right? Often it's a little bit bizarre, and that's okay. And then you share the answer, so either share it with yourself or get the client to share it with you, and then make sure you take the action based on that answer as fast as you can. Yep. So, so where could you guys use snap thinking? I'd love to hear just really quickly where you guys could use that, and yeah. Would that be okay, Taki?
Yeah, it's great. Perfect. So please type it in. Andrew's saying, so this is like Malcolm Gladwell in Thin Slicing, Trusting Gut Instinct.
Yeah, it's a bit like Blink, yeah, in his book Thin Slicing, and it is a form of thin slicing. Yeah, he just calls it thin slicing, thick slicing, and yeah, absolutely.
John says I could use this with my wife to find out several things. Interesting, John. I don't want to know.
Okay. No, be careful with that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe warm up with favorite color, vegetable, holiday destination first.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, excellent.
So, here's what I'm hearing is that the benefit of this kind of 4-part technique, you know, stop, sense, share, and act, is that it gets you used to trusting that right brain. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a left brain process for working with your right brain.
Yeah, and
after a while,
it teaches your left brain to trust the right.
Exactly, and after a while you don't have to do the process. Yep. So I'm not sitting there when I was popping the question for Nicole and going, okay, close my eyes, stop, and you know I don't do that process. Now it just happens automatically. Yeah.
Yep.
And so when you practice that enough, it'll just become auto. Yeah, that you can tap into at any time.
Love that. Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quiet my mind. It's the key to everything, says Dan. Perfect. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got to learn to do it on the fly, right? Because we don't live in a very quiet world anymore. You know, we've got gadgets with us all the time trying to get our attention. So, you know, it becomes harder and harder. And so this is a really simple process that you can practice day to day. And so, you know, if you could implement this, then, you know, a whole lot of things change in your, you know, with what you're doing. And you start to really just, you know, just pull out such amazing value. And, you know, some of this thin slicing or first thought technique is, you know, is coming from automated experiences that you've had to some degree. And it's tapping into a wisdom that, from a conscious point of view, you don't even know you've got. You know, because wisdom sort of pops out of nowhere often. And so, you know, if you could implement this, you know, this process, then you're absolutely going to increase your value tenfold.
And I think one way to kind of just highlight the value of this is, like, how many times have you had a gut feel and ignored it and then gone, crap, I should have listened to my gut?
Yeah, absolutely.
Trisha Velthausen, who's a great black belt from Brisbane, says that people tell you everything you need to know about them in the first 30 seconds. We're just not listening.
Absolutely do. Yeah. We just don't listen. Yeah. And when you do this really well, they'll almost tell you in the first 5 seconds. Like, walking in the room tells me so much about someone. Even before they enter the room, I can tell a lot about someone.
Yeah. Andrew's just said no sound. Let me just check in, everybody. Can you hear my voice? If you can, please just type in yes. Carlos can. Okay, Andrew, sounds like it's at your end. Thanks, everybody. Okay, I'll just type that in for him. Just checked. Everyone else.
And as we've sort of heard, it's something. All of this sort of stuff you can just implement straight into what you're currently doing, and I think it implements beautifully into any coaching system that you may have learned. And this is not about replacing great skills and techniques you've learnt from wherever you trained. This is about adding some of this stuff in and really refining some of the skills you've got, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But by the way, first thought technique just kicked in. Somewhere near me, someone's eating a bacon and egg roll, and my
really?
my right brain just said, favorite color's bacon, and so
absolutely, that'll do.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, great. And so so what we need to do is now have the client align themselves to the insight. So what you saw me do with Nicole is after I said passion, she said speaking. The way I aligned that for her was, tell me about the energy when you're speaking. Does it? Really what I'm saying is, does it give you more energy or less energy? Because what I want to do is check that that pop word, that quantum leap word was correct, and B, that the client really got it. Because sometimes when you quantum leap, you're going along on one train of thinking, and all of a sudden you've jumped in another train of thinking. And for left brain predominant people, they're firstly going to look at, well, why have you done that? Like, what have you just done? And they're going to try and analyze what just happened, rather than go into, oh, okay, let me think about what was said. So they'll sort of extract themselves a little bit and go, oh my God, step back a bit and go, I don't understand what he just said. Now, what was that about? And what just happened? Rather than going in and going, wow, and focusing on the word, like for Nicole was passion and speaking. So and so sometimes we've got to help join the dots and align them to the quantum leap that we've just done. And so in Nicole's case, the way I did that was talk to her about the energy. Yeah, does it give you more or less energy? What gives you more or less energy? And then that helped her to align with the word passion.
So can you
pop that inside?
Just in one sentence, just explain, like define align. Like its purpose is to what?
Define align. Its purpose is for them to get it. So for them to agree with what you've said, by them chunking it down into their thinking, go, yeah, that's right. So what they're saying subconsciously in their head is, yeah, you're right. So they're having this moment of, oh my God, I don't know what to do, and then going, oh my God, yes, that's what I need to do. Now I've got it, type of feeling. Now that's a subconscious script that's going to run, but the align piece is about that. Yeah.
And apart from, does it give you more energy or less energy? Have you got a couple of other go-tos that we could try?
It's going to depend on the word that pops. That's the thing. So another one might be, so how would that help? Right. Yeah. So if you had more passion, how would that help? Would be another way to phrase it. What would happen if? How would that change your world? Again, it's going to be a little dependent on what's just happened, but they're the general things I'm doing, is going, hey, how's things going to be different because of that? Yep. How does that change your world? Yep. Right. And I'm really saying, is that helpful or not helpful? Yeah. And I want them to confirm or deny, right? They can go, yeah, that was brilliant, or they can go, no, I don't think it's that. Because what ends up happening is if they go, I don't think it's that, the next word that comes out of their mouth is, I think it's this.
Perfect.
Right?
So Raj asked a question earlier, which I'll come back to right now, which is, sometimes does this go wrong and you need to try several leaps? And your answer to that, you just kind of answered that, which is, if you've got it wrong, they'll go, it's actually not that, it's this.
Exactly. And if you're doing the questioning process correctly, you're not going to come across as if you're being egotistical and going, it is this, right? So I didn't go, hey, Nicole, you know what your problem is. You need to do your passion, right? It's this, Nicole. No, I just, I question the word. I go, talk to me about passion. And then that gives Nicole or the client the opportunity to go, you know what, I don't think it's passion. What I think it is conviction. And you go, excellent, great, so tell me about conviction, And so then I'll go back a little bit and just check in that that's correct, right? Because I want them to know that that's correct rather than them going into story stuff and script, right? So we just want to check back in and go, so tell me about conviction. How will that change your world? Oh, wow, if I had conviction, I'd do this and this and this and this and this. And I go, cool. and so I'm just checking in on that. So as long as you language it the right way, then it doesn't matter if you don't get it quite right? And as you're learning first thought technique and snap thinking, and and I never presume I'm right? Now I've done this for 15 or 20 years, so I'm more right than I'm wrong nowadays. But I'm still not, I'm not egotistical enough to go, Taki, I'm always right, and so if you don't agree with me, well, tough, right?
You're
this
just
is
not getting it.
Inside.
Try harder.
Yeah, no. I'm always going, hey, Taki, could it be this? And giving you the opportunity to say yes, no, or maybe. Yeah, and it makes it just so empowering for them, because then they walk away going, I came up with that, right? But they also then attribute the value of coming up with that to you, because they also in the same breath go, wow, I couldn't have done it without you. Right? So I'm really clever, and the coach is really amazing, and that's the feeling that comes at the end of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then as you heard right at the end, I'm checking in, was that valuable for you? Did that help? Because what I'm doing is, A, I want to check that we're on the right path and that they feel they got value, and 2, I want to embed in their head that they got value. Right? So asking the question, was that valuable? It helps to confirm to me that yes, we're on the right track and they've got some really great stuff to walk away with, and B, it confirms and re-embeds in their head that I created value.
Yes.
Right? So they're walking away going, wow, I got this really great insight, I know what I need to do, and wow, Marcus is, gives me great value.
Yep. Super clear.
So, yeah, so it's great. So, time-wise, let's have a look. I was going to do another example, but I'm not sure I don't want to run out of time.
I reckon we've got time, and I'm pretty sure that people will forgive you for going 10 minutes over.
All right, well, that's fine then. Okay, so shall we just do another example, and maybe I'll go a little bit slower this time, and maybe I'll talk it. Maybe I'll talk it through a little bit. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think that'd be.
Do you think?
I think that's a great idea. So you'll kind of do it and play by play it.
Yeah,
so
I think I'll play by play. Yeah.
Great. So if you'd like to have a quick go in the coaching chair, then just do me a favour, raise your hand. You're not going to get asked about anything weird, or your sexual preferences aren't going to come up in this webinar.
Not on this webinar anyway.
No, that's the bonus session later.
That's right. Exactly.
So do me a favour, there's a little hand up button in the GoToWebinar control panel. If you'd like to have a go, please raise it.
Yeah, and don't be scared. It's all good.
Totally don't be scared.
Yeah, it's fun. And we're just going to step through it slowly and just, walk through it a little bit.
All right. So, Grant, you're a good sport, Grant Herbert. Appreciate that.
Grant.
I'm going to mute
Fantastic.
me and unmute him. So hang on, I'm disappearing.
Okay. See you later. Hey, Grant. Hello, Grant.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, how are you?
Hello, Marcus.
Yes, can you hear me?
Fantastic. And yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I can indeed.
So let's play the game, and we're just going to take a little bit longer this time. We're just going to sort of step through it a little bit. So as I usually do, I start off with my question. What do you need right now?
Yeah, look, what I need right now is I need to remove the focus on my adrenal fatigue and realise that it's okay to expend energy in my business.
Okay, so tell me about adrenal fatigue.
Okay, so adrenal fatigue is where I wake up of a morning with very little cortisol and stress hormones available in my body, and I pretty well have to only work half days. However, I am increasing my energy and getting better physically. However, it's still always in my mind that I need to conserve energy. Not sure if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So my next question to you will be, tell me about energy. I just want to stop for 1 second. So we're going to just stop and start a little bit, which will be a little awkward, but it's all cool. So you just need to remember the last thing I said, which is energy. So you hold that word. So the interesting thing was one of the questions I asked was around adrenal fatigue. And as I asked the question and you started going into the answer, I went to myself, wrong question. Right? So the better question could have been fatigue. So tell me about fatigue, right? Because what's happening here for you is there's a real story around adrenal fatigue for you, and you go deep into that, and you've got all the answers to that, and you've got all the technology around it, and you've obviously looked into it a lot, and it's obviously affected your life, you know, greatly. Okay, and so I don't want to make it lighter than what it is, so I get it, right? Because I had chronic fatigue syndrome, so you know, I'm totally with you from an energy point of view. But what happened there for everybody else is that because I asked the 2 words rather than 1, you went back into the story that you've written for this.
Yes.
And told me the technology behind that and what's going on and cortisol levels and all that blah blah blah, right? And so you know, so even as I do this, sometimes when I ask a question, I get that sense and I go, oh, too big a question, right? And I know it was just 2 words, but too big a question. So fatigue would have been a better question, just to let everybody know. So what I then wanted to do is, as you were talking, I was going, what we need, the question should have been around fatigue and energy. And then beautifully, you brought up the word energy, which was lovely. So thank you so much for doing that. And what you'll find is that's what clients will do, right? And you'll preempt the question and they'll confirm that that's the right question, which is exactly what you did. So then I asked the question around, so tell me about energy.
Are we back live now? Cool.
Yeah, we're back live. Sorry, we're on again. So tell me about energy, Grant.
Okay, so conserving energy for all areas of my life by being very frugal on giving it out in my business.
Yeah. So you're very frugal with your energy, correct?
Very.
Yeah. Okay. So again, let's just stop for a second. So the interesting thing about this is that, you know, there's 2 ways to approach anything, and so one of the ways you approach things is from the smallest common denominator, or you can approach things from the biggest common denominator. And so what I mean by that, and I'm just going to try and language this because it's very much a feeling, but we can approach this from, you know, oh, I'm going to get tired, or we can approach this from, I have an abundance of energy, right? Again, I'm not explaining this as well as I'd like, but because what I'm hearing from Grant at the moment is that there's this really tentativeness around the whole energy thing, because obviously your experience has been a fairly big one for you, and so therefore, you know, you're very cautious around it. Grant, what if there was a way to tap into and we're back on now, just so you know, what if there was a way for you to tap into like a wellspring of energy? Like, what if energy was ever abundant?
That'd be great.
Yeah? Okay. And what if it was possible? Yes, sign me up. Yeah. What if it was possible to have that?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because I think
it'll solve my problem.
Yeah, it would. And I think energy is a little bit like time, right? So we think time is real, and we think that there are 12 hours or 24 hours in a day and a night, when really it's not real. Like, so quantum physicists have realized that time's not real, and I think energy is a little bit the same. And I think that, and again, let's just stop for a minute. So I'm just processing my thinking and my feeling at the moment. And so, I think when we have an experience of energy depletion, we then get really tentative around our energy, we get really anxious around energy, and we tend to hold on to energy tighter, which actually reduces our energy. And so it becomes this catch-22 situation, where we conserve our energy, and in the conserving of our energy, we actually have less energy rather than more.
Yes.
Yeah? So let's go live again. So are you aware of what takes your energy and what gives you energy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what takes your energy?
Doing well. Number of things. I'm trying not to be a coach. I'm trying to be a good.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy, right?
Yeah. So what I find takes a lot of my energy is worry about not having enough energy. It also
yeah, funny that.
What takes a lot of my energy is sitting with people who are wanting to suck that energy and they've got nothing to give back, and they're wanting me to be their energy supply. And what energizes me is doing stuff that I love, which is a mutually beneficial two-way street where it's a win-win.
Okay, so tell me about win-win.
So where my client, friend, whoever it is that I'm investing time with is getting maximum, great benefit out of that time together, and I am too.
Great. Okay. So, so fluff removal is probably one of the most important things for you, correct?
Yes.
Because it's the fluff that takes the energy, right? When people are fluffing about, what happens is they suck suck your energy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two trains of thought that go on here, right? We can follow the fluff line and go, let's remove stuff. But what I hear from you, and we're offline now for a sec. What I hear from you is that life's a lot about, removing the negative stuff, right? It feels, right? It feels like a lot of what you're focused on is removing things or making sure that you're not losing energy, rather than the opposite way, which is about things that are giving you energy and focusing on the giving of energy rather than the losing of energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we're offline a little bit now, right? So, but this is what I'm seeing from an energy pattern point of view. So from a charge point of view in your languaging, I'm seeing that there's a huge focus on, keeping energy rather than a focus on getting energy. And that takes energy, right? So to keep your energy takes energy.
Yes.
Rather than focusing on, the things that energize you, right? Which actually don't take energy to get, because they actually keep energizing you.
Yes.
Yep. So, so if we go online, so part of the insight then is about, is about that, right? Which is about, can you hear your languaging around, the desperate need to keep energy?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
When I'm doing it?
Well, yeah, can you hear it now in the language that
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yes.
That your focus is keeping of energy, right? So what would happen if you changed your focus, and it doesn't mean that you're not conserving energy and you're not managing that process, but what if you changed your focus to energy giving activities rather than energy conserving activities?
I would have more energy.
Yeah, great. Excellent. You'd have more energy. Yeah, great. And what are 3 things you could do to actually change that focus, do you think? What are 3 things you could do right now?
A list of things that energize me.
Yeah, great.
Second thing I could do is take that the next step further and write some visualizations around those particular events, and to to read those 2 or 3 times a day. And the third thing that I could do is do a reflect, refocus, relaunch at the end of each day for 7 to 30 days, somewhere in there, to just to make sure that I'm on track with doing more energy giving than worrying about conserving.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic, excellent. That's great. So, so I'm just going to help alter something just briefly. That list. There's a process that I run with clients called an energy detox, and so what I get people to do is I get people to list all the energy sapping activities and also all the energy giving activities. Yep. And then I get people over 30 days to remove as many of the energy sapping activities as possible, and only do the energy-giving activities for 30 days. So it's a bit like a food detox when you eat green leafy vegetables for 7 days or something.
Yep.
I go, when you do your list, do a double list just for now, and do an energy detox, which is only focus on those energy-giving activities and remove every other. So whether you do it for 30 days or 14 days, and it could be you remove some friends, it could be you remove some family members just for that period of time. Right, where you just don't talk, you just go, hey, I'm overseas, or I'm doing something, or, whatever, give whatever excuse you need to so that they're not hassling you, and just, so you set it up really well, and how would that help?
That'd be great.
Great, excellent. So are these things that you can do?
They are, yes.
Great. When are you going to start?
After this call.
Great.
In fact, I'm not. I've got another meeting after this call. Let me look. I'm going to start it at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Perfect. And has that been valuable for you?
It has, very valuable. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Well done. Thank you, Grant. That was great. So, Taki. So I think yeah, I think hopefully that explained the sort of process that I was going through and that Grant was going through. And I know it's a little bit disjointed because we're stopping and starting. So
I think the stopping and starting was actually really valuable for me. That helped me kind of. Otherwise, we see what's going on the outside. We have no idea what's going on inside you, and so you explaining why was really useful. So let's just do this. 30 seconds, please. Find the question box and just go. What did you notice about that little process? What did you see Marcus and Grant do that you liked? What did he do or ask that you weren't sure about? Kind of what did you learn? What did you notice? What would you like to share from that little piece right there?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You could just type in like John has awesome, and which is great. And if you've got something specific that you kind of saw that you liked or that you intrigued you, please type that in. I think that'd be kind of super useful.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed was that Grant was really clear about his 3 things, and you had a tweak to one of them that you prescribed. And so often, as coaches, we're taught to never give the client, content. The content must always come from the client, and in that case, you can completely break the rules. And I think it was actually in Grant's favour that you did it.
Absolutely, and it happens to be a topic very close to my heart because of chronic fatigue, right? And so I've got a whole lot of IP around it that I use personally, and so he came up with, in my head before he was coming up with it, I went, energy detox, that would be great, and so he just said list, and I go, perfect, right? Now I just add a tweak to it, and it's not that I've given him anything. He's actually come up with, hey, I need to do a list, and I've gone, great, let's tweak it a bit. How would that help?
Yeah, and so I love the way that you took the list from an awareness list to a doing list, which was really cool.
Yes.
Jules said he followed the keyword that Grant supplied. Yeah, it was fatigue, and it was frugal, and it was energy. Love that. Raj says Mark's got a little definition up front to understand just enough to help start the feedback loop. Perfect. Ed says it doesn't matter if you don't get the question right first time around. Great insight, Ed.
No, absolutely. And I really wanted to bring that up because even I've been doing it for a long time, Taki, and even but I know the minute I've asked the question whether I should have tweaked it a bit, and then I just go back in and re-ask the question, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's like Eamon insisting on starting coaching sessions with dumb questions, right, bro? It's like you only got to do that a few times to go, actually, that was a dumb question, and after a week of doing that, you might start with something else.
And just know there are no wrong questions. It's just a time thing, right? So if you ask questions that are not as appropriate as they could be, it just elongates your time. So what we found there is because I asked the wrong question, Grant went into a story about the stuff, and that was fine. It actually helped give some other insights. So it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't it wasn't a bad question.
No,
it just could have been a bit sharper. That's right. It just delayed. That's the only difference. So there are no bad questions.
Love that. Rich says it was really, really focused. Thanks, Rich. Carlos says Grant's language shifted from need at the beginning to get to by the end. His energy shifted in the present moment. Great call.
It absolutely did. Yeah, great call. Fantastic.
John Money Morley says finding and following where the energy block flow is the focus of Marcus. Yeah. Grant says, thanks so much, Marcus. I cannot express how much it helped me. Fantastic, Grant. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm wrapped. I'm excited.
Nicole says, could really feel Marcus trusting his right brain. It could have been a tricky conversation to have with another coach to give him that reflection around the fact that he was desperately holding on to his energy, which was making him lose energy more. But he totally trusted his right brain and gave Grant an awesome outcome because of it. Well done.
Absolutely.
Good job, team. Super great. Love that.
Really great. That's brilliant. I'm so excited that people are getting it at that level and are really seeing it. That's so exciting, Taki.
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
I'm putty in your hand, Marcus Bird. Where should we go from here?
Right. So let's just talk a little bit about insights because that's obviously what came out of that. And so,
the
for me, I think,
to be clear, is the thing on the other side of the quantum leap. That's what you'd leap.
That's
to,
right.
Is that right.
Yeah, it's that pop question on the other side where the client goes, and does the sort of aha moment. And we saw, as one of the question, the questions was before that we, all of a sudden he flipped from that need to, solution. So he's flipped from unknown and I'm just going to try and hang on to my energy desperately to a known response, which is, wow, what I actually need to do is focus on this, right? Because rather than holding desperately, because when you do that, you actually lose more energy, right?
Yeah.
And I totally get why you're doing that, right? We totally understand it, but it's not helpful. So we go from that unknown of, I think I know. It's almost not even unknown. It's almost I think I know to I absolutely know. That's the difference. And that's what we're jumping into. And It's really about sparking that aha moment. So I'm going to dissect sparking the aha moment a little bit, and just show you, show everybody online how you can really do it quite profoundly using a couple of different things, right? So right now I'm just using, today I've just been using sensory intelligence and sensory assessment predominantly, but I reckon there's two other sort of assessment tools that you can use, and this is a little, I often call this utilizing the body GPS. So if anyone's familiar with how a GPS works, and we've all got GPSs these days, right? Whether they're in the car or on a PDA device or a smartphone, we've all got a GPS, and for a GPS to work, it has to get signal from 3 different satellites. Without 3 satellites, it can't give you a location, and anyone who does orienteering will know this, how this works. But so you've got to get 3 satellites, and I think when we're doing sparking the aha, it absolutely helps to triangulate your location from an insight accuracy point of view. And there are 3 tools that I use to do this, and so they look like this. The 3 tools I call task, true, and trust. The first bit is looking at an observed assessment, right? What are the tasks they've been doing? And what we use in 3-Minute Coach is the rap sheet, which I'm going to show to you guys in a minute. So it's the paper that comes in. It's what do they need? And they give you the list of things they need. They give you their wins. They talk about what they're working on right now. So it's looking at the actual tasks, the actual actions that they're using. And what I'm looking for here is a congruency, right? And it's the 3... it's the task, true, and trust that I'm triangulating, and I'm looking for congruency among all 3 to make sure I'm right. So this is really about what do I see? So what do I see on a piece of paper? The next one I look at is what I call indicated assessment. Yep, and this is through the feedback loop questioning technique. This is about the person. What's happening for the person? And I suppose in the example I've just given, Taki, I probably used true and trust because obviously I didn't have the paper in front of me, although I did start with what do you need right now, which is what would be on the paper. But I did the true and the trust. So I looked at and sort of sensed what was going on for him through feedback loop questioning. And this is about what do you hear? Yeah, what am I actually hearing? And it's not the words that you're listening for, it's what's behind those words. It's the language behind the language, or the words behind the words that I'm listening for. And then the final piece is I'm trusting my sensory assessment, my sensory intelligence. What am I sensing here that's not real or out of incongruent? And what was incongruent with Grant was, hey, I want more energy, yet I'm focusing on having, trying to keep the little bit I've got. And so there was a real congruency mismatch between what he was saying and what he was actually wanting. And so, and that's what I'm trusting, and I just want to bring that up for Grant and go, hey, here it is, what do you think? And let them give me that feedback. And so that's all about what do I feel? What am I actually feeling through this process? Yeah, and so a lot of what I'm doing is looking at the congruence of energy, right? So the nature of energy is that everything is energy. Everything in the universe is energy. The walls are made up of energy. Anything that's got atoms in it is emitting an energy. And so this is not some spiritual, woo-woo sort of thing, although it might feel a bit woo-woo. But we're actually looking for the congruency in the energy of what's happening. And again, remember, Taki, if I get caught in the language of what he's saying and the words, then I'm going to get caught in fluff way too easy. And, Grant had a brilliant story, and he knows the whole story, and he talked a bit of science there with, his hormones and what was going on, and really easy to get caught in that, right? Because it sounds like a good story.
It doesn't make any of that stuff less true.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Is it helpful, and what are we going to do about it?
Exactly, and absolutely it was true, but it's definitely, it wasn't helpful to the outcome, right? Because it just keeps him, keeps him in that space. So I'm looking for the charge around things. So I'm trying to sit beyond the language and sit in the energy of the language. That's what I'm looking for. What's the charge? The charge of each word and the charge of the language itself, so that I can pop through that and help give the client an insight. The second thing I'm going to use is the rap sheet, right? And so you put up part of a rap sheet for the black belts, which is great. This is the rap sheet I use. This is what my clients fill in before they come in for a session. They fill it in as they're doing the session, and they take it with them. So, what's your biggest win? What are you working on right now? What do you need? What what are the 3 things you need right this minute, and then what's the point, right? So the point here is, it's not about conserving energy, it's about actually manifesting more energy. It's about focusing on energy gaining activities, not trying to, hold desperately onto the amount you've got. And then there's the play, which is, hey, what are the 3 things you're going to do right now? Yep, list, visualize, and the 3 R's for Grant. And so, so I'm going to use this rap sheet. Remember, the client's only going to fill in that first piece up to picture. After a while, what you'll find clients do is they'll send you the rap sheet with point and play already filled out, and then all your job is to confirm the insight that they're getting. Right, and so often it won't be the right insight, but at least they've started thinking about it. So it's so much easier to pop an insight when someone's already pre-insighted themselves.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's brilliant. And so we're going to use the rap sheet. And then I think the key here is that we're going to go into, like I said before, the words behind the words. I won't harp on this because we've talked enough about it. And then obviously the sensory intelligence. Yeah. And there's 3 parts I'm using in sensory intelligence. I'm looking at spatial awareness, sensory acuity, and my intuitive intelligence. So I'm sensing what's going on in and around the space. That's the spatial awareness. I'm also sensing what's going on in my body. So sensory acuity says that what's happening in my body when I'm with a client is actually what's happening in their body. Right, so if I get an ache or a pain, or I get a feeling, so if I get nervous or anxious or any of those sort of things, then I know it's got nothing to do with me and everything to do with them. And that's sensory acuity. And then I'm using intuitive intelligence, which is the first thought technique, that snap thinking, to be able to triangulate at a smaller level my sensory intelligence. And so I think from here what happens is you create huge value. Yep. So, as Grant said in his comment back, that was really great value, and he got some, great stuff out of it. And now Grant, when he implements this, he's going to have an abundance of energy. And eventually, the left brain will start believing that he has an abundance of energy, and the worry and concern and watching energy will start to vanish.
Yeah, right.
And it will no longer be a problem in his life. And so this is not just helping him with work. This is helping him in his whole life. And I'm excited about that. Like, I'm pumped when that happens. So how would that help? If you could triangulate that, what would happen for you guys if you could, really, yeah. Shall we get a bit of feedback from that, Grant? I mean, Taki, before we move on, or?
That's okay, Bob. No problems.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'm still with Grant. You see, I'm still there.
I love how present you are with your clients, even after they leave. Your dedication is incredible.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it is.
So how would that help? Being able to triangulate, I think, kind of those three areas. Task, true, and
trust.
And trust.
Task,
Thank
true,
you. I'm
and
just
trust,
looking at my notes and I've written it down wrong. What they write on the paper, what you feel from what you see from the person, and what you
feel. Yeah. So what you
feel,
see, hear, and feel. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Carlos has just had a really good insight, which says this would be the listing that we typically miss in the first 30 seconds. Love that, Carlos. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because often all we see is what the person presents, and we just accept it on face value. Where what I've noticed, Mark, is a whole lot of this process is about almost ignoring what they say on face value and going to what's really going on. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. While still being very present to what they're saying, right? It's one of these sort of conundrums,
Yes.
and it's a bit counterintuitive because I'm saying don't listen to anything they're saying, but at the same time, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so how can you see this task, true, and trust? What you see, what you hear, what you feel. How can you see those 3 kind of triangulations helping you kind of get clear about what's really going on for a client? Just going to give you 30 seconds, please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. People are busy writing, and as soon as they come I'll read
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Because I think, if you can implement that, if you can start to step back and take a very contextual, sort of view of what's going on rather than getting caught in the story, right? Because as a coach, you don't want to be caught in the game, right? And I think if you're not taking this step back, what ends up happening is people start kicking the ball to you. And by obligation, you start playing with the ball, right? You start kicking the ball around as well. And then before you know it, you're actually part of the game. It's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be actually playing on the field. I should be watching the field because it's their game, not mine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So don't do any kick it to me.
Stuck in the mud. The worst place for you to be is in the mud too.
Absolutely.
How are you going to pull them out if you're in it? Rich says it highlights how important it is for me to enter the session open and centered myself.
Yes, it does.
Marcus, is there anything that you do to kind of to kind of wipe the slate clean and be present before a session?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do this more than I do it now because, again, Taki, because I've done it for so long, I can be on in, in 2 seconds flat. Yeah. So, but it was practice, right? So before, what I used to do is do like a 5-minute meditation or a 2-minute meditation before they came, and in the meditation or the, mindfulness, what I'd do is clear the last client, and I'd start focusing on the next, and I would just start to tap into my intuitive intelligence and go, what do I think's going on for them right now? Right, without actually holding on to that and going, oh, I know what's happening and I know I'm right, but just with an inquisitive mind go, wonder what's happening for Grant right now. And just go with your first thought and go, okay, and I jot that down. I used to jot that down, and then when they walked in, I would ask the first couple of questions, and more often than not, they would bring up exactly what I was feeling. And if not, I would go, so tell me about that, because that could be a quantum leaping as well. So tell, before they came in, I felt really anxious or something, so I'd go, so tell me a bit about anxiety. And they might go, oh my God, this week I've been so anxious because I'm desperately trying to get this out into the world and that. And I go, oh, okay, cool. And it can often start a whole conversation just that. So that's how I would get myself present. Just focus very much on the client and then clear the last client.
Raj has got a really interesting question, and I'm loving Left Brain Raj here. He's asking some great questions.
Good.
Yeah, what happens if the client has a substantive question? Are you kind of, how do I blank?
Yeah, so
are you okay if I quickly unmute Raj? Because I'd love to make sure he gets a really whole answer.
Let's make sure we're clear on this. That would be good.
Hey Raj, dude, I've just unmuted your line.
Hey there, how's it going, guys?
Yeah,
Very
good.
well.
Yeah, thanks for your question. Good question. So did you have any thoughts in mind? What do you call a big topic or a big thing?
I guess my question was with substantive questions. So when the coaching is about eliciting something that they, it might be a latent knowledge that they already have, or it might be something that you're drawing out of them, that's one thing. In the case where the coaching intersects with something that might be factual, how do I do a direct mail piece? How do I think about where they really the client has very little context, they don't even know where to begin, so it's not like you could draw something out of them. You can draw out from them perhaps a structure by which they would tackle it, but not really kind of the content. How would you address something like that?
The funny part about that is that, in my private client space, big things often come up, because my background has been in healing and therapy, and, I've worked at psychiatric facilities, and so in a lot, not a lot, but, sometimes big stuff comes up, and so I'm still going to question around what they think they need to do, and the fun part about that is 99% of the time, people actually do have an idea of what they need to do. And as long as you get one little spark, you can generally spark a whole lot of other things. Now, if they do, if you keep hitting up against the I don't know, which is not a response in my world. I have a rule in my sessions that you cannot say the word I don't know, because I don't believe it's true. You can say I choose not to connect to it right now. That's totally legitimate, but you can't say I don't know. So I teach them first thought technique, and I go, if you could do anything right now, what would it be? First thought, bang. And most people have some idea, or at least the first step. Now, if it's something that I have experienced, like a chronic fatigue, or if or some, it might be a divorce thing someone's going through, or if I've had experience, then my prescriptiveness at the end will be much greater. So as you saw with Grant, the list I tweaked, and Grant's obviously been a coach for a long time, really intelligent, very self-aware. Not every client's like that, obviously, and so what I might do is be even more prescriptive. Right? So the way I would language that is, so if it was a medical issue, I might go, so what would happen if you went and saw a specialist, do you think? Right? So I'll embed what I think they should do based on a question around what they think they should do, and not necessarily you should see a doctor. Now, if it's if we go to an absolute extreme and I think it's life-threatening right now, then absolutely I'll go, you need to go to the doctor right this second, right? That's a totally different story. But generally, in a coaching environment, the chance of that happening is nearly zero anyway. And so I'll question around it. Yes.
Quick question. I've got a hunch that Raj's question was even more specific than that, and it's what if you're a marketing expert, which Raj is, to the legal profession, which Raj is, and somebody goes, how do I create a landing page?
Great. So what ends up happening now is we start to go into the realm of mentoring, not coaching. Right?
Yep.
So if they go, hey, how do I create a landing page? What I suggest to mentors who are wanting to implement this is I go, have all of the common things that people ask, the processes around that on a video or online or a downloadable, and go, hey, so what do you need to do? Oh, you need to set up your Facebook marketing, or you need to set up a lead pages. Fantastic. So what I've got is I've got a whole video on how to do that. So what I would prescribe you to do is to go and set that up. So what I want you to do is watch the video, have a go at it first. Next session we can actually start to work deeper on that. The mentoring part may elongate your sessions. So when you get into the process of actually showing someone what they need to do, it's slightly different to this, right? So that's going to elongate it a bit,
What we've found in terms of Sherping is that we've got a hybrid between 3-minute coach at the start, and often the prescribed piece, not every time, but often the prescribed piece will be relating to either a training that we've got or a framework that we use, and then Adam will pull out the framework and explain, here's the 3 steps, and he quickly explain it, and then say, and I want you to go off and watch this and do that. And so it's got a hybrid at the prescription piece.
Yeah. So the prescription piece could be, hey, I've got, like Taki said, I've got this 3-step thing. Here it is. Do this, 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 and this, and now go watch the video to get more detail on it. So that's the way to keep your sessions short with that. Now, if you implement like I think Grant had, which is 15 minutes of coaching, 45 minutes of implementation, you can eat into some of your 45 minutes of helping them to implement.
Okay. That makes sense. I think I was going for if the Q&A or the kind of the zigzagging at the beginning, the client says, well, I need to get more clients. And so what do you think you should, so you think you need to get more clients. And it goes on, and then they end up at a place thinking they need to go to the Chamber of Commerce and press the flesh, when in actuality their problem is they haven't even refined their ideal client. So the insight might be, hey, it could be something like that. They don't know where they're going or who they're targeting, right? So then, you give them the prescription of what do you need to do to find that. Okay.
And look, in a lot of cases, they're going to know what they know. They're going to have some idea around what they need to do, right? They might not know exactly, and obviously with your experience, you're going to know a better way to do it, a faster way to do it. But I try and let them come up with at least some ideas first, like what Grant said. He said, I need to make a list, right? And I go, hey, there's a better list to do. So I implemented that. And so in a lot of cases, you'll find someone will come up with, oh, okay, so I need to refine my client. Okay, so maybe I need to know who they are. You go, great. Okay, so who are they? Right? Start talking about that. Here's a way you can find out more about this type of client. Go to this site, go to that site, look at my video, and then dive a bit more into that. So your end piece could take a little bit longer than what we've done in these few sessions.
You got it. Okay, so I get it. So it would be a combination of in my case, I guess, a structured program, because we introduce everyone in the same way, plus resources, the videos, plus the session being more pointing to the other things and helping draw out the needs, and then from that you could additionally say, we'll go back to item number 105. That's where you see that.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So do a bit of a combination. You'll still get it to 15 or 20 minutes. In a lot of cases, but try and pop the insight, because if someone said to me, I need more clients, I'd want to pop an insight about what's stopping them from having clients right now. And most of the time, it's not just intelligence of how do I find them, right? A lot more is that there's fears behind actually finding them, and so I want to pop that insight as much as I want to give them a prescription of how they actually find them.
Great. Okay, I guess the insight would be more valuable because than the rote stuff, because they can get that elsewhere. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. So, cool. Good. All right. So, conscious of time, Taki, let's get through this last little bit. It's probably the easiest part anyway, so we don't need to harp on it. But it's the play part. Making sure they're on the right ground and they're playing the right game, and making sure that when they leave, they're still not cloudy. Right? They're absolutely crystal clear about what they need to do, and that process is really about the prescriptive nature of it. And we've talked quite a bit about that. Now, when you're doing this, Taki, one of the things that you need to make sure you're doing is managing state still, and we talked about that in the first session, I think it was, because there's a chance people can go back into their stuff when you start prescribing. Not all. Now, obviously, Grant didn't, because he's a coach, he gets it, but sometimes people will jump back into state and start with the whole, it's not possible, right? I can't do that, and so then they'll start telling you a story around that. So you want to make sure you're watching that. As I've exampled, you want to make sure you're questioning as much as possible those things that they need to do. So what do you think you need to do right now? And then, and then the delivery of a little bit of tweaking through questioning. So how would it be if you did this? Here's a model that I use. It's called Energy Detox. Imagine if you did this and this. How would that be? And trying to deliver it, in a questioning point of view. And then obviously coming up with those 3 core actions. Yeah, because I found, especially nowadays, 10 years ago when I was doing this, someone could come up with 10 actions and walk away and do them. Nowadays, because of all the distractions and how fast things are moving, 3 core actions is 10 times beneficial than 10 core actions. So, and sometimes it's just one that's really beneficial. So you want to sort of, make sure that they're leaving with that and being very clear.
So your question is something like, if there was, they've just popped an insight about energy. If there was 3 core actions you could take to maximize your energy, what would they be? Is that your question?
What would they be? That's exactly my question. Yeah. What are 3 clear, what are 3 core actions you could take right now that will change this situation?
Perfect.
And that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Let me just review. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know whether we need to ask questions on that. I think that's pretty clear.
No, I think that's really clear. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to go through, just sort of review where we've been before we sort of finish up. And I know you're going to do a bit of a review anyway, but if we look at today, we questioned him, we popped a moment of truth, we came up with an insight, which is that core issue, and then we popped out the other side. The pop on the other side of moment of truth is around the 3 core actions and around the what do I need to do now, and that's when they'll pop out the other side. So there's a bit of a containment piece there where we're making sure that the insight they've received is actually true for them and is congruent with them. And again, as I said before, some people will fight that a little bit and go, oh, I don't know whether that's quite right, and they'll feel, if they're right brain especially, they'll feel into it more, which might mean it takes a tiny bit longer just to make sure they check in with themselves and go, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. And so then they'll pop out the other side and we'll question them through the prescriptive process or the prescriptive nature of what we're doing. And so it's going to look like this, and if we overlay the blueprint, what we're doing here is we're asking questions, we're sensing and intuiting, we're managing state as we go through, and we're getting them to have a bit of a snap, right? We're wanting them to come up with what's really going on here. We then want to expose that to them and help them to see what it really is, so ignite that insight, reveal that insight to them so they get, and then make them sure they've got the click. Have they got the aha? Have they clicked with it? We then go in and help them to integrate it and activate it, get them clear on their action plan, and get them to go out with 3. So, so that's the process we're doing. So, ask, show, tell.
I love how that graphic, the 2 overlaid over each other, just makes it feel so clear.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, then that's going to get them in and build the momentum, because when clients start to come in, they come in slow because they're not clear, they're stuck, so their whole energy is slow, and what we want to do is start building the momentum as they go through, and as you have seen, the front end's often a bit heavier and a bit longer. You get in the insight, and then it goes fast at the other end. Now, if you're going to do a bit of mentoring, obviously the other end is going to be, a little slower, but we want to build that momentum as they go through.
Totally love that. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah.
Are you cool for me to review?
Yeah, absolutely. No, let's do that. I think that's great.
Mate, sensational job.
Thanks. It's been heaps of fun, I've got to tell you. And I just love doing the process. It's the most favourite thing I do. So thanks. Thank you to everyone for allowing me to do the examples today and unpack them and play with them.
Totally. So let's just recap. I've taken a bunch of little notes here in my notebook, but I'd love to know from you what really stood out for you as most valuable, most useful. If you kind of implemented this system, what kind of a difference would it make? In fact, let me just ask that question because I gave you 2. If you implemented this system, what kind of a difference would it make? Which is the align question, really.
Yes.
And so while you're typing in the kind of difference it would make, I'd love to do a quick kind of, here are some of the big takeaways that I had, and most useful bits for me. This little piece here came out of Grant's action step from last session, which is to do a 60-minute session with 15 minutes yellow with you, 45 minutes of them, and then some kind of update, whether it's, maybe it's a call, it's probably an SMS or a fill in a form, and then you can just give them a quick attaboy and everything's great. I love when you worked with Nicole, the conversation started like this: Hi, what do you need? It was like super, Super blunt. Completely love that. It was like, let's just get straight down to business, shall we?
Yeah. And you want to jump in quick there, Taki, before they start telling you story stuff or script.
Yeah, that's why the question was, it wasn't even, it was like, hi.
Yeah, that's it.
It wasn't, how's your life being, or any other question that Eamon Rooney could ask. Eamon does just a little friendly jab to get you to stop it. What do you reckon? We talked about the moment of truth and this quantum leap between, where you go from insight and then then kind of align the insight. I think that's kind of super cool. You talked a lot about snap thinking, which kind of first thought, which I found remarkable. From as simple stuff as favorite fruit and favorite color. But I love this idea that kind of the left brain has been encouraged, and that, they tell a story about if there's a black dog and a white dog and they fight, which one wins, and the one that wins is the one that gets fed the most. And so we've kind of fed the left brain a lot. It gets all of the kudos, and what we want to do is just have a way for the right brain to take equal footing, and where it's appropriate to take the lead. And this is one of those situations where it's totally appropriate. So kind of the first thought is always a right brain thought was a really big insight for me.
Yeah, great.
This was your technique. Close your eyes, focus on the noises around you, not what the noise is, but how it sounds. Is it high or low? Is it fast or soft? Is it sharp or dull? Is it close or far? And then you had this kind of four-step process. Like stop, sense. Ask the question, sense your answer, share it, and then get to work on it. I love that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Align was really about this. It was about helping them get it. And so often in a webinar, we'd ask a question like I just asked you guys, which was, if you had this working for you, what kind of a difference would it make? Which is the go from I've just received some information to kind of integrating it and kind of almost future-facing the end result. So then I can accept it and go, okay, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah.
Then we talked about popping insight and the aha, and the way you kind of really do this is by triangulating task, which is what they wrote down on their rap sheet on the paper, the truth for what you see in the person, and then there's trust, just kind of trusting your gut and what you feel. So kind of what do you see, what do you hear, what do you feel? Totally love that, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you have one of those, you're seeing an incomplete picture, is kind of the insight I got. Then we talked about rap sheet, a simple tool to use to kind of get people clear about what, where they're up to on the left-hand side, and then working through the session on the right, or Marcus's, same content, just kind of laid out slightly different.
Yeah.
And then once they've got the insight, like you said, the last piece is really simple. It's like, so if there was 3 actions you could take to kind of make this happen, what would they be? Or, what are the 3 core actions you could take to change the situation based on what we just talked about? I kind of love that. So I just want to do a quick recap because I found this session just really, really useful.
Yeah,
a few people are asking about the book. I'll make sure that we get book info out to everybody.
Yeah.
Raj said most valuable was, and the result would be fluff, extermination, and more focus. I could get to the client's actual stuff so much faster without having to wade through the fluff. Yes. Nicole. Andrew, see you next week. I love the mechanics of intuition, and I totally love the juxtaposition of left brain and right brain, Carlos, in the way you said that. It's like a left brain process for a right brain thing. The mechanics of intuition is just really well said, Carlos.
Yeah.
Raj said, left brain Raj finally gets how to map this process to the structure of a group coaching program. And by the way, left brain Raj, you're dealing with the most left brain people there are, right? Lawyer, and you're, I'm pretty sure, an ex-lawyer yourself. And so seeing how to do that, I think, is good. We right brain the front end, and then we lay out either a framework or a resource is how we point people in a kind of group coaching structure. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully without bastardizing Marcus's stuff too much, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. I think, in essence, that's what's happening. It's right brain heavy up front and a little more left brain because we want to get into action, right? And it's the left brain that's going to create the action. So that's exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah. So we've found this just a ridiculously useful process. It's a year ago, or kind of Christmas last year, there was no Sherpa, and I'd been thinking about how do we support people better, and I'd seen other people had like a guy who came in on Fridays, and so people would email in their questions, and on Friday the guy would kind of answer them all by email, and just like, that feels okay, but it's a bit lame, it's a bit reactive. How can we be a bit more front-footed about this, so that our clients get better results faster? And so we're talking with Marcus, Adam and I went down to Melbourne, and we both walked in going, I don't know if this is going to be good or not. Like, I don't think I've shared this with you, Marcus, but like, it can't be terrible because Marcus is really good, but we don't know if it's going to be useful for us or not. Worst case, we get to hang out for 2 days and that's going to be great. And halfway through day one, we looked at each other and said, this is freaking deadly, really good. And, it totally changed. Like, Adam's been coaching for, he's got thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of coaching under his belt, and this completely changed the way he coached forever, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
So, of course it was. I mean, you did it, and it was killer. So, as we wrap up, I wanted to say a couple of things. Firstly, there's lots of people who've been, loving this, both live and on the recording, and people also wanting to find out about the 2-day training with you. We did it in Melbourne last year, and it was life-changingly good. I've asked you to put a little bit of time after the next black belt in Sydney to come.
Yes.
A few people have messaged you about it, and so I just want to give people just a tiny little bit more detail about that right now. When Adam and I went down, even though Marcus is client, I just want you to know that we didn't get special rates. It was, full price, normal deal, 3,000 plus GST each to go, and it was 100% worthwhile. If you'd like to go and get trained up on this, so you can be kind of ninja, ninja like Marcus is, ninja like Adam is, and ninja like I pretend to be. Then you should totally come to the 2-day training, and whether it's you or your Sherpa in your program, I think it'd be really helpful. It's $3,000 plus GST to go. In this kind of case, I'm a little bit like an affiliate to Marcus, and the standard affiliate deal that most people do is 50-50. So if you buy, then I get half the money, and Marcus gets the other half. And to be honest, dude, I don't want the money. I really want you to go, and so I'm going to just. Marcus and I were having a chat just before the webinar today. If you do want to go, instead of it being $3,000 and I get half, it's going to be, I'm just going to give my half back to you as discount, and so you get to go for $1,500 for 2 days. It'll be life-changingly good, and literally it's the 2 days after black belt. So if you're keen, can you just do me a favor and just type into the question box interested, and then I'll just make sure that Marcus can touch base with you later today. Is that cool? So just find the little question box and say interested or want to find out more, and we'll go from there. While you're doing that, Marcus, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been brilliant, such a really great addition, and I just want to say I reckon you should be really proud, not just because the content's good, but because the content mapped almost as well from, obviously the live event was way better because we could do it, not just learn about it, but I'm just really impressed at how well this translated into a webinar environment, and so kudos.
Yeah, thanks.
And also, I'm just really grateful that you shared. I've got kind of 3 notebooks here of useful stuff that now me and clients can use forever, and now obviously when we want more, we know where to go.
Yeah, fantastic. I loved it. It's good fun.
Raj is saying, I'm interested if you're coming to San Francisco. So that might be a fit for San Francisco. September 6th and 7th is the next black belt. We'll see. Great.
I've got a few people over there who are interested for sure.
Yeah, totally right. So a couple of people saying, what are the dates? So Sydney, July 31 and August 1 is black belt, next Thursday, Friday, and then the Saturday, Sunday after is 3-minute coach. So that'll be the 2nd and 3rd of August. So just type in a little note. Thank you. A couple of people saying yes, California. That's excellent. Thank you. Super cool. Hey, Marcus, thank you. This has been brilliant. Guys, can I ask you a favor? Can you just, I know you've written in the yes pleases. That's super helpful. Any Melbourne programs? No, dude, come to Sydney. Like, it's a 1-hour flight. It's totally worth, I can't stress more strongly how worth a trip it is. And so don't let a 1-hour aeroplane hold you back. I think that's just, limited. Cool? Marcus, anything to add today?
Yeah, no, I've just had heaps of fun. It's been fantastic to be able to share, this with everybody, and I really appreciate you allowing me to do this, Taki. It's been fantastic. I've loved helping you guys and, seeing the results you guys are getting out of the process, and so, wrapped to be able to help anybody else, to be able to implement this process in their business, yeah.
Sweet, man.
Change their business forever.
Yeah, totally. It's literally, it's more value. And the happy result for you is in a whole lot less time, which is super, super killer. Mate, thank you so much. This has been really, really fun. I'll make sure that I get the details of the people who have said they're interested in finding out more to you. And thank you, and to everyone who says thanks for the deal, you're very welcome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Cool, mate. Hey, thanks a ton. I just got a text from my two buddies who have just landed in from the States. We're going to go surfing in about 15 minutes.
Nice.
I'm going to sign off and get a little right brain for a bit.
Excellent. You go have fun. Well done.
Cheers, man.
Thanks,
Take care,
guys.
everybody.
See ya.
Thanks a million. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.